She said something about the family that makes so much sense to me. Hi, and welcome to Flossom Talk. I'm Kjersti Flaa, and here on my channel, I talk about my good and bad experiences in Hollywood and working as an entertainment reporter. And as you know, I cover the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni drama basically every day. Anyways, thank you guys so much for all your support. Again, you're so amazing and you're sending me great stuff. So keep it coming. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. And also check out if you've been unsubscribed. It happened to so many people. And of course, hit the notification bell so you don't miss an episode of Flossom Talk ever. So I was watching this video from the Court of Random Opinion yesterday, and this woman, she's doing some amazing work going through all the legal documents. Her name is Lauren, and she mentioned this video, so I checked it out. So this is a journalist called Elizabeth Lane, and she is apparently close to Blake Lively's family. She said that she knew Robin pretty well and her husband Bart, who is married to Robin, who is Blake Lively's sister. And she said something about the family that makes so much sense to me because I also spoke to someone close to the family. And this person said it almost exactly the same thing about them as this journalist is saying.
I spent enough time with this family to speak about personal relationships and who they really are. How Blake Lively is displayed today in the media as a diva and someone who just tried to steal this movie and so on. All of that is true. That's Lively family. Robin was the star of the family, right? Back in the day. Now no one remembers Robin, but Blake always looked up to her and wanted to be famous as Robin and so on. I've noticed that they will do anything and everything to be famous. The family dynamics is Robin and Blake have an older sister and they treat her like she's not existent or something.
Yeah, they'll do anything to be famous. And if you follow Bart on Instagram, you know what she's talking about. But I think, yeah, as she said, it also goes for Blake. And I think there's been some rivalry going on there. And her older sister that no one ever talks about, she showed up at the Events With Us premiere and something else, and people were like, oh my God, she never shows up at anything. So maybe they have become closer. I don't know. But it's interesting that she says that this is so up their alley to do exactly what they've been accused of. Yeah, I think this is a part of some kind of documentary series or something. I didn't quite understand it, but you can go to Elizabeth's Instagram if you want to see more about this. Anyway, some interesting inside info there. Also, everyone keeps talking about Ryan Reynolds' tan. It's so funny. I was mentioning it the other day that he starts looking like RFK. He's getting tanner and tanner, more and more orange, people are saying now. There's been a lot of stories about Ryan's appearance lately. I don't like mocking people for their appearance, but I think when you're doing something on purpose that makes you look really weird, I think it's okay to call it out. Especially if it is someone like Ryan Reynolds, who is so vain. And the thing is, he's 48, he's aging, he doesn't have any lines. I can totally see he's done Botox around his eyes and all that stuff that a lot of guys in Hollywood do. But he's getting more and more orange. And people are also commenting that he looks like he's aged a lot. I don't think he looks so much older than 48, but I can see that this is taking a toll on him, which obviously it would. I don't think it shows that much on Blake for some reason, but she looks a little different too. As I mentioned in another episode, I think she's done some stuff to her face as well. But Ryan's tan has been up for discussion a lot. And as I said, I think he looked like RFK, but somewhat people online have also been comparing him to this episode of Friends with Ross.
I know!
Yeah, I love Friends. And I think that is pretty close to what Ryan Reynolds looks like now. There was also some close-up photos of him in Daily Mail where they showed his neck that looked very orange. And there were pictures of Blake and him when they arrived at Hugh Jackman's play, his Broadway play that he's been promoting a lot lately. And of course, his best friend and his wife, Blake, showed up and she stopped to pose for the paparazzi outside, smiling as she does every day now. And after the show, the paparazzi were waiting outside and they came out and Hugh gave Ryan Reynolds a hug in front of everyone, which to me seems like he just wants to show everyone that he supports Ryan Reynolds, which we know is not a great move. There was another story on Daily Mail about how fans are telling Hugh Jackman to stay away, but he's not listening. He's not going to do it, and he will be subpoenaed. He probably has already, and he will be deposed by Brian Friedman, and he has to tell him everything that he knows about Ryan and about especially Nice Pool. Hugh Jackman also got a lot of backlash from his new relationship with Sutton Foster. He's been accused of cheating on his wife, Deborah Lee Furness, that Sutton and him met before their divorce was final, or then before they left each other. And people are not taking that easy on that. I think, as I said in another episode, that we should give Hugh Jackman a little slack. And it's not like he found someone so much younger. I think Sutton is age appropriate for him. She's 50, he's 56. And sometimes in life, after you've been married for I think they were married for 28 years. It's okay. It happens to 50% of couples. And it's understandable that Deborah is coming out saying that she doesn't like this relationship at all. Someone close to Deb has said that she can spot a midlife crisis from miles away, and she knows Jackman better than anyone. He's needy, and he will cry on Sutton's shoulder and try to help her solve her problems, but he won't give her space, and that's just the beginning of why it won't work out. Okay. Apparently they are struggling because of all the backlash. Yeah, and it's hard for them to be out in the public eye. I think also if I were Sutton Foster, I would not want to be seen in public with Ryan and Blake. And as we know, they're so close. I'm sure she met them, but we haven't seen all of them interact together anywhere. And she's not coming with him as his date or plus one anywhere. So I think Sutton wants to just keep her distance, which is so understandable. She's not a big star. She's like a known actress, but she's not out there. So I think for her it's wise not to be seen out, especially with Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively. So according to Radar Online, Deb is giving this relationship about a year before she thinks it will collapse. So we'll see if Deb is right. I hope Deborah finds a really nice man and can move on from this as well. She deserves that. So yeah. InStyle did a story, and Page Six did a story on Blake Lively's bag. I mean, why is this a story? She wore a surprise Easter egg bag, according to InStyle, and she pulled a Taylor Swift. So the reason why she was wearing a pizza bag, or a bag shaped as a pizza, was because she was promoting Another Simple Favor, and that is, as we know, as everyone knows at this point, they shot that movie in Capri in Italy. So everyone knows that. So it's not an Easter egg. She did go to this event where they made pizza, where at this occasion she did actually put her hair back in a ponytail, because as you remember, she got a lot of backlash from having her hair out when she was in that donut shop. I think it's 2 months ago now. I don't remember. So she learned a little lesson there. That's good for Blake, because she doesn't seem like she learns lessons very easily. But she did wear this purse, and it cost $6,000. I'm like, who wants to buy a bag that looks like a pizza for $6,000? I'm sure she didn't pay for it though. But anyways, this story is picked up, like I said, on Page Six as well. Yeah, I don't get it. Of course, InStyle is writing stories like this. I mean, but yeah, why is this news? I don't get it. Anyways, this news I found really disturbing, though. I don't know if you've seen that, but Tom Cruise and Ana de Armas are apparently dating. There's been footage of them together taking helicopter rides all over the world. As we know, Ana de Armas was dating Ben Affleck a few years ago, which didn't end very well. And recently, she also dated the stepson of Cuba's president. So she likes powerful men that are a little older than her. I thought she was younger, actually, but she's 37. But Tom Cruise is 62. But that is okay. The thing that I have a problem with here is that he belongs to a crazy cult. Have we forgotten what happened to Katie Holmes? That she had to planned for months how to escape out of that relationship, and that Tom Cruise has absolute no contact with his daughter, Suri. I think about 10, 15, probably 15 years ago now, when I was living in New York, I did an undercover story on Scientology. So I went into the Scientology church on Times Square in New York and pretended I was interested in joining the church. And they showed me around, and it was really disturbing. They put me in a room to watch this video and all the messages in this video. I mean, it's just like absurd. It's so bananas. And the way that this is reported on, no one's mentioning anything of this. And it was so public, everything that happened to Katie Holmes. And we know with Nicole Kidman as well. And she doesn't have any contact with her kids because they are in Scientology church. And I'm sure that they're not allowed to have any contact with her. And a source has said to, I think it was in Daily Mail, said that Anna loves being away from the crazy. She has been traveling with Tom to busy cities like London, but he always makes her feel safe because he's thoughtful and he has a ton of security. He never puts her at risk. She's completely taken care of when she is in his company. I'm sure she is. There's like a whole Scientology army around Tom Cruise. I mean, when he used to do interviews, Magnus told me this. They set up camps outside the press junkets, so every journalist had to go through these sessions of Scientology before they were even allowed to speak to Tom Cruise. I have to say, I don't blame Tom Cruise for this because I think he's so brainwashed, and he's always very nice, as I've talked about before here on my channel. When I met him, he gave me a hug. We had a moment. It was amazing, but he is not good for Ana de Armas. And I really hope that someone saves her before it's too late. I don't know if any of you saw that documentary by Lena Remini when she'd left Scientology, and she did a series of documentaries about it, and it was, and I remember I spoke to ex-members of the church, which it is in the US, is a religion. It would never be a religion, I think, anywhere in Europe. I think in Germany it's even forbidden. Um, but I spoke to some ex-members of the church, and they told me some real horror stories. And after the story was published in the newspaper in Norway, they got calls and threats from the Scientology church, and that's what they do. And there's been so many stories about this out there. So it's just like, does Ana de Armas not have Google? I mean, there's just, why? Anyways, it says that he is apparently bringing her to Cannes. I don't know if she's going to walk the red carpet with him, if they're that public yet. But I see a disaster in the future here. Okay, so let's end this episode with a nice inspirational story from Jeremy Renner. I've met him a few times. I think he's lovely. I always had fun with him. He's just like this bubbly guy that has a great sense of humor. And as you all remember, he was in that horrific snowplow accident. I think it was during COVID. Was it in 2020, 2021? Anyways, he broke 38 bones in his body, including ribs, knees, ankles, pelvis, face, and hands. And now he's written a memoir called My Next Breath, where he talks about this accident and what it did to him. And one of the things he said, and the thing is, this man probably has to live with this pain for the rest of his life. But the way he's looking at things is, I think, such an inspiration to read about. He says that my mouth is a disaster. It's an absolute nightmare in there, my own private hell. Every time I'm talking or eating or sleeping, I want to scream inside because of the chaos in my mouth. My teeth will never line up properly again. One side got pushed so far offline by the snowcat, and it's unfixable. What's interesting about this is he explained what it felt like when he died, because he was probably dead for, he says, maybe 15 seconds, maybe he was dead for a minute or 2 minutes, I don't know. But he says here what he actually experienced when he was laying there dying. He said that I could see my lifetime, I could see everything. It could have been 10 seconds, it could have been for 5 minutes, it could have been forever. Who knows how long? In that death, there was no time at all. Yet it was also all time and forever. And then he continues to say, I know I died. In fact, I'm sure of it. And then he explains what he was feeling. He said, what I felt was energy, a constantly connected, beautiful, and fantastic energy. There was no time, place, or space, and nothing to see except a kind of electric energy. And then he says something interesting. He says, all life was grand. All life just got better in death. Everything and everyone I love or ever loved in my life was with me. I loved reading that. And I mean, we're all afraid of dying or afraid of death in general. So I think it's such a relief to hear that that's how he felt. I mean, so many people have talked about this before him, that they had like this near-death experience and what they saw, if they saw the light or whatever. But I loved reading this, and it was like, oh, maybe it's not so bad when we all die, because we all got to go there one day. Hopefully, we'll be around as long as possible, as long as we're healthy. And as you know, lately I've been complaining about my cold, but when I read this, I'm like, what? I have nothing to complain about. When you have gone through something like this, and then he is back and he is stronger and healthier than ever, he says. I'm sure he looks amazing, but I'm sure that he sounds very positive when he's talking about this, but I'm sure he has his moments too. And of course, he's talking about how his nephew found him and how he is traumatized by that. And it was important for him to show his nephew that he could come back to what he was before. And that was a driving force to him, because he wanted his nephew to heal from seeing that horrific sight of him laying there. All right, you guys, that's it for me today. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and thanks for watching Flossom Talk again. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss an episode of Flossom Talk, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.